Good evening. This is our SYJC biology lecture. We are in chapter number 2 of your 12th standard. Name of the chapter is Reproduction in Lower and Higher Animals. We are in part 2 of this chapter. I am Professor Prasad Tamankar to continue with this chapter. In the last session, we understood what is meaning of the process of reproduction. We studied some asexual methods of reproduction, like we understood fission, binary fission, then multiple fission, then we understood fragmentation, then budding, which is there in our textbook, gemmule formation again in our textbook, regeneration is present in our textbook. So all these methods which are there in our textbook and some methods which are not there in our textbook we studied. Then we went for understanding what is sexual reproduction, the definition of sexual reproduction, and after understanding definition of sexual reproduction we understood different things like what are the sex organs, primary sex organs, secondary sex organs. Then we understood the difference between the male and female humans, that is sexual dimorphism or sexual dimorphic characters of humans we understood. उसके बाद हम लोगों ने किया था gamete formation. What is gamete formation? Production of gametes in body of humans will be called as gamete formation. And so we defined sex. Male sex is that which produces male gametes. Female sex is that which produces female gametes. We understood the methodology of spermatogenesis, the process of production of sperms as in the body of male, and oogenesis, process of production of ova in case of female. Now with this knowledge, we have to continue with understanding the systems, reproductive systems of human male and human female. So first, to begin with male reproductive system, we have to give an account of it. So within the limits of our chapter, we are going to discuss something which is available there in our text, and so that is all what we are going to do. So as far as male reproductive system is concerned, naturally it is found in male body. So it is a organ system which is responsible for following certain tasks. Task का मतलब क्या है? ये जो unavoidable functions है ये उसको करने ही है. Like first important task is production of male gametes. Male gametes are sperms, you all are aware of it, and so production of male gametes is the main task. Then maintenance of these male gametes or maintenance of sperms till they are delivered out. Okay, so this is another task that is done by male reproductive system. And third important task being having sexual reproduction, it is important to transfer the sperms to the female body or female genital tract during the process of copulation, or commonly called as mating. This is very essential because in case of human, we are having internal fertilization, and for those all organisms where internal fertilization is available, it becomes very essential to transfer sperms into the body of female. So that is another task which is done. Then to continue this task or to maintain all these tasks, certain organs are required in the organ system. You must be knowing organs, different organs come together so as to form organ system. And that's how we have to consider different organs that are involved in the process of or in maintenance of all these tasks. So organs of male reproductive system, we have to understand. The first and important organ is pair of testes. Now let me tell you in the beginning itself, testes are the primary sex organs where sperms are produced or gametes are produced. These gametes are then made to pass through a continuous tube till they are delivered out. And on the way, there are certain glands available. These glands are also important for maintaining sperms and in the delivery of sperm. So we are going to say continuous system like glands as well as the continuous passage of sperms. अपने बुक में थोड़ा सा ये अलग से दिया हुआ है, उन्होंने स्पर्म कैसे पास होते हैं उसके लिए एक ट्रैक दिया है और एसेसरी ग्लैंड्स करके उन्होंने अलग से मेंशन किया हुआ है. सो वी आर गोइंग टू डू इट साइमल्टेनियसली सो दैट इट विल बी इजियर टू रिमेंबर. तो जब अपने को डायग्राम ड्रॉ करना होगा, समझो ये 3 मार्क के लिए डायग्राम पूछा मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम का, तो उस वक्त आपको पूरा स्ट्रक्चर बराबर से मालूम होना चाहिए. द ऑर्गन शुड बी नोन वन आफ्टर द अदर, मतलब कौन से ऑर्गन के बाद कौन सा ऑर्गन आना है, that you should remember. And so we are going to take into consideration continuous flow. So first there is a pair of testes followed by pair of epididymis. Now testis is an organ which we are going to study in detail of it. Epididymis are, we can see, the fine tubes which receive the sperms from testis. Then they transfer it to vasa differentia. Vasa differentia is a tube available. Then it comes to a gland. See, we have mentioned it in bracket. there is a pair of seminal vesicles. So glands which are called as seminal vesicles are present in between. Seminal vesicles के बाद आता है pair of ejaculatory duct. Then there is a prostate gland available. Then after prostate gland we have got urethra present, and after urethra we are having pair of Copper's gland. Rather we can say along the way of urethra, Copper's glands meet in between and they open into urethra. So that is another characteristic feature. Then comes penis. Penis is a male copulatory organ. Copulation means mating, I told you earlier, or sexual intercourse, which is essential. Penis is essential for transfer of sperms into female body. So that is another organ. And then last we have to say is scrotum and penis together will be considered as male genital organ or external genitalia, on the basis of which after birth male can be identified. या बेटा हुआ है कैसे पता चलेगा? If the body has got scrotum and penis, then it will be considered as external genitalia of male and can be identified. So have a look at this for a minute. Okay, so these are the different organs which we have met with. Male reproductive system के ये organs है. Now we'll have to study all these organs one by one. So we'll start better with pair of testes. Okay, so as far as pair of testes is concerned, they are placed in a sac-like structure that is called as scrotum. So scrotum will come first. It is a property of characteristic feature of mammals. So mammals में ये मिल जाएगा. It is not found in any other organism, any other animal. Okay. So scrotum is a small sac-like structure which is present attached to the male body on the ventral side, that we have said here the position of it mid-ventrally, and attached to pelvis region. अभी pelvis region आपको पता होगा अपने बॉडी की कुछ पार्ट्स है, जैसे कि हेड रीजन यू नो वेरी वेल, नेक रीजन, थोरैक्स रीजन, थोरैक्स के नीचे अपना आएगा बेली रीजन और एब्डोमिनल रीजन अप टू नेवल रीजन, इट इज कॉल्ड एज बेली. उसके नीचे वाला जो पार्ट है बॉडी का दैट इज कॉल्ड एज पेल्विस रीजन. सो इट इज अटैच्ड टू द पोस्टीरियर मोस्ट एंड ऑफ पेल्विस रीजन. And so scrotum will come to lie between the two limbs, two hind limbs. दोनों hind limbs के बीच में ये position हो जाएगा. This scrotum has got a definite structure, definite arrangement for giving protection, and some other functions are there. So scrotum is composed of basically 3 layers. These 3 layers are nothing but outermost layer. There is a available layer of pigmented skin. It is a dark pigmented skin available, and it is wrinkled sometimes. Why to say sometimes? Always wrinkled. Why it is so? Because scrotum will undergo contraction and relaxation little bit whenever required. ये contraction and relaxation क्यों होना है? That I will discuss with you later on. So to allow relaxation means making the movement of testis away from body will be considered as relaxation, and bringing testis close to the body will be considered as contraction. This task is performed by scrotum, and to avail this, the skin has to be wrinkled. अगर ये skin tight हुआ तो ये function नहीं हो पाएगा. That's why it is so. Pigmented skin is essential so as to make it a definite functioning. Then there is a middle layer of smooth muscle. इस smooth muscle layer को हम लोग कहेंगे dartus muscle. This dartus muscle is automatically controlling contraction and relaxation of scrotum whenever and wherever required. Okay. Then inner and smooth connective tissue layer is available. So 3 layers are available: outer wrinkled and pigmented skin. Then middle layer is made up of muscles which are involuntary dartus muscle, and innermost layer is a layer of smooth connective tissue. So these 3 layers are important. Middle layer, that is muscular layer, and smooth connective tissue layer together will be forming a partition in the scrotum. मतलब ये जो एक sac like structure है, उसका diagram मैं बाद में दिखाऊंगा, so you'll understand it better. तो जो sac like structure है उसके बीच में एक partition बनेगा. This partition will be considered as scrotal septum. Okay, scrotal septum word आपको समझ में आया रहेगा. It is a partition. Septum का मतलब होता है partition. As it is found in scrotum, it will be called as scrotal septum. So that is a characteristic feature. Then it will divide scrotum into 2 scrotal chambers. Naturally, partition है. Partition क्या करेगा? उसको 2 अलग-अलग हिस्सों में बांट देगा. 2 अलग-अलग पार्ट्स में बांट देगा. That is what we can see. 2 scrotal chambers are available over there. और ये important part है. 2 scrotal chambers, and each chamber will give position, or we can say lodging to each testis. Now, the scrotal chambers are not empty. They are filled with a special kind of liquid. This liquid is little bit viscous liquid known as liquor scrotoli. ये सब वर्ड्स आपको बराबर से याद रखने हैं. नीट के लिए बहुत सारे यहाँ पे ऑप्शंस आएंगे, मतलब बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस के ऑप्शंस आएंगे, बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा सकते हैं. सो क्वेश्चन फॉर्मेट किया जा सकता है. कंट्रोलिंग ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्शन एंड रिलैक्सेशन ऑफ स्क्रोटम इज डन बाय डेट्रूसर मसल, डार्टस मसल, और कुछ दो तीन मसल के नाम देंगे ये लोग. सो यू हैव टू pick it off perfectly, that is, it is dartus muscle. Okay, so remember it very well. So liquor scrotoli is a liquid filled in scrotum. Okay, getting it? So इस तरह से जहाँ पे लिकर मतलब लिक्विड, जो बॉडी के अंदर लिक्विड भरे हुए उसको लिकर कहा जाएगा, और अलग अलग जगह जो होगी उस जगह के लिक्विड को उसका नाम दिया जाएगा. So liquor scrotoli will be liquid filled in scrotum. Okay, so remember एंट्रम लिक्विड भी होता है एक. सो लिकर फॉलिक्यूली इज फिल्ड इन एंट्रम स्पेस इन द फीमेल फॉलिकल. सो ये और एक नाम, ठीक है. सो ये वो जब रेफरेंस आएगा तो मैं बता दूंगा वापस से. सो रिमेंबर इट वेरी वेल. सो लिकर स्क्रोटोली इज इंपॉर्टेंट. देन हिज टेस्टिस, as I told you, there are two chambers made. Each chamber will be holding one testis, बट इट इज नॉट प्लेस्ड इन. टेस्टिस जो है उसके अंदर रखा नहीं है, मतलब वो नीचे की वॉल को टच नहीं करेगा. रादर इट विल बी सस्पेंडेड इन स्क्रोटम फ्रीली, एंड दैट सस्पेंशन इज डन विद द हेल्प ऑफ ए स्पेशल कॉर्ड और स्पेशल काइंड ऑफ सस्पेंसर दैट इज नोन एज स्पर्मेटिक कॉर्ड. देखो यहाँ पे ये वर्ड है, स्पर्मेटिक कॉर्ड. ओके, स्पर्मेटिक कॉर्ड इज अ मस्कुलर बैंड which is responsible for giving suspension. This muscular band will cover some additional things like epididymis. Epididymis is a coiled tube which is available. Even it will cover the part of vas deferens. It will cover blood vessels. It will cover nerves. So ये सबको क्या करेंगे, उसको bind करेंगे, and then it will act as a cover over the testis so as to suspend the testis in the scrotum. तो testis को scrotum के अंदर suspend करने के लिए ये दोनों available है. Now this is a diagrammatic representation of scrotum. Try to understand this particular thing. This is a outermost layer of wrinkled skin. अभी यहाँ पे ये stretched दिखाया है scrotum, so skin is not appearing wrinkled, but naturally it has to be wrinkled. Then dartus muscle will be second layer, and then innermost layer will be considered as a smooth muscle layer. See, this is a partition which is made by these two layers. इस partition को हम लोग क्या कहते हैं? Scrotal septum. So this is one chamber, this is another chamber. As you could see, this entire region is called as spermatic cord. Okay, यहाँ पे इसको लेबल किया है, but ये भी spermatic cord ही है, और ये उसको कवर कर रही है. यू कुड सी दैट इट इज कवरिंग द टेस्टिस कंप्लीटली. दिस ये साइड में जो दिखाया है वो नेचुरली दिखाया है, मतलब जैसे होता है वैसे दिखाया है. एंड हियर द टेस्टिस इज बीइंग एक्सपोज्ड सो एज टू शो द इंटरनल स्ट्रक्चर्स. मींस स्क्रोटल सैक को स्क्रोटल सैक के अंदर स्पर्मेटिक कॉर्ड को थोड़ा सा डिसेक्ट करके अंदर वाले स्ट्रक्चर को रिवील करने के लिए ये स्ट्रक्चर दिखाया है. सो यू कुड सी हियर अ नेटवर्क ऑफ ब्लड वेसल्स अवेलेबल. देन यू कुड सी द टेस्टिस ओवर हियर. दिस इज अ पार्ट ऑफ एपिडिडाइमिस. Okay, and then this is a tunica vaginalis, which is a layer of testis or coating around the testis. Then you could see a vas deferens, a tube that carries the sperms away from testis. So जब भी जैसे अभी हम लोगों ने कहा कि scrotal sac के अंदर testis suspend होता है, that is suspension is made because of this particular part. इसको हम लोगों ने क्या नाम दिया? Spermatic cord. Spermatic cord is covering testis. It is covering epididymis. It is covering part of vas deferens. It is giving covering to blood vessels. It is giving covering to nerves also. So all this, as we can say, is the characteristic feature over here. तो इसको अच्छे से याद रखें. The structure of scrotum can be asked as a diagram for 2 marks. Okay, so try to remember that it will be a 2-mark question. Now, so far as the additional structure is concerned, testis actually, as I told you, are suspended in scrotum. Now it is possible that this testis may go up in the body. Okay, so ये testis body के अंदर वापस नहीं आने चाहिए. Actually testis are produced in body, in abdomen of male when male body is being developed in the mother's womb. उसी वक्त testis develop हो जाते हैं, and then they are brought to scrotum and made to rest in scrotum. So once in the scrotum, they should not go back into the abdominal region. And for that purpose, there is a special band of muscle available. This muscle band is called as jubernaculum. So remember this word, jubernaculum is available. Jubernaculum will be connecting the testis to the dorsal wall. मतलब testis के पीछे वाले wall के साथ, sorry, scrotal के पीछे वाले wall के साथ testis को ये connect कर देगा. So testis will be attached to the scrotum so that it should not move upwards. So that's an idea behind it. Scrotum का function क्या होगा? Naturally, in case of humans, we are having, or in case of mammals, let us say, we are having scrotum present. So testes are present in the scrotum. So scrotal testis is a characteristic feature of mammals. MCQ का question हो गया. Which of the following animals are having scrotal testis? So mammals will be the correct answer. Okay. So as testes are placed outside the body, उसको protection जरूरत है और उस protection देने का काम करेगा scrotum. So that is the first thing. Second thing, it is very essential to maintain the temperature of testis at least 2 degrees less as compared to body temperature. We are having 37 degree body temperature, you must be knowing. So टेस्टिस का टेम्परेचर जो है बॉडी के टेम्परेचर से 2 डिग्री कम रखना जरूरी बनता है. दिस इज वेरी इसेंशियल फॉर स्पीडी प्रोडक्शन ऑफ स्पर्म्स. तो स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस को अगर स्पीडीली करना है या नॉर्मल स्पीड से करना है तो टेस्टिस का टेम्परेचर लो होना बहुत जरूरी है. एंड दैट्स व्हाई दिस टेस्टिस आर प्लेस्ड आउटसाइड द बॉडी. सो व्हेनेवर नेसेसरी द incubation of testis is essential, and whenever not necessary, the cooling of testis is essential. Okay, so to have this particular task done, scrotum is doing important function. If the temperature of the surrounding is more, or if excessive heat is there in the body, the dartos muscle of the testis will become loosen. ये थोड़े से relax हो जाएंगे, loosen हो जाएंगे, so that the testis will be taken away from the body. And whenever the temperature of the surrounding is less, at that particular time, the dartos muscles will undergo contraction so that the testis will be brought close to the body, as a result of which, what will happen? The testis will be given enough warmth or incubation so that the process of production of sperms, gametes rather we can say, will be done properly. So ये जो slow movement है, this is done at involuntary level or at under इनवॉलंटरी लेवल. मतलब अपने को पता नहीं चलेगा, ह्यूमन को पता नहीं, मेल को पता नहीं चलेगा कि टेस्टिस कभी बॉडी से दूर हो गई या कभी बॉडी के पास आ गए, ये पता नहीं चलेगा. ऑटोमेटिकली इट इज डन. सो दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट. अभी यहाँ पे कुछ मैं चीजें ऐड करना चाहता हूँ. आजकल बहुत सारे ट्रेंड बदल रहे हैं. सी, दिस इज ए पार्ट ऑफ सेक्स एजुकेशन. आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक समथिंग फ्रीली. डोंट टेक इट अदर वे अराउंड. दिस इज एसेंशियल फॉर आवर एजुकेशन, आवर नॉलेज. अभी देखो बचपन से ये शुरू हो जाता है. आजकल वो हगी बेबीज का बहुत बढ़ गया है ना. डायपर्स लगाते हैं बच्चों को, बचपन से ये आदत डाल दी जाती है. सो व्हाट विल हैपन इफ कंटिन्यूअसली अ बेबी इज वेयरिंग डायपर्स, मेल बेबी स्पेसिफिकली इज वेयरिंग डायपर्स, नेचुरली द टेस्टिस विल बी कंटिन्यूअसली क्लोज टू द बॉडी. तो ये जो नेचुरल मूवमेंट जो है टेस्टिस का, अप एंड डाउन मूवमेंट, वो नहीं होगा. ठीक है. तो पहले 1 साल, 1.5 साल, 2 साल तक ये डायपर्स पहना के रखने की वजह से क्या हो जाएगा, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम आ सकता है. सी, वी आर गोइंग फॉर आवर ईज. बच्चे कुछ भी कर देते हैं, नंबर 1 नंबर 2 कर देते हैं इनवॉलंटरीली. तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए. आजकल कपड़े धोने के लिए तकलीफ होती है माँ बाप को. तो ये सब की वजह से डायपर्स, कंपनी वालों को क्या है, कंपनी तो प्रोडक्ट बनाएगी, यूज करना है कि नहीं करना है अपने ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. सो ये एक हो गया. उसके बाद में एज मेल, मतलब जो बच्चा बढ़ेगा, सो पेरेंट्स ऑफर हिम टू मेक यूज ऑफ इनर्स. ठीक है. इनर्स यूज करने से वापस वही होने वाला है. द टेस्टिस विल बी ब्रॉट वेरी क्लोज टू, और विल बी केप्ट वेरी क्लोज टू द बॉडी, एंड दैट विल अफेक्ट ऑन स्पर्म प्रोडक्शन. सो व्हाट आई सजेस्ट इज, एटलीस्ट व्हाइल स्लीपिंग वन शुड वेयर लूज क्लोथिंग. मेल्स, खास करके मेल्स के बारे में ये कह रहा हूँ. So while sleeping or during sleep at night, when you are sleeping, you are going to bed, make use of some loose clothing so that the testis would be properly ventilated, and this proper ventilation of testis will make the speed of spermatogenesis proper. Okay, तो spermatogenesis का जो speed है वो थोड़ा सा proper रहेगा और तकलीफें नहीं आएगी. वरना sperm count low होगा, sperm count low होगा तो fertilization बराबर नहीं होगा and our future generation will get affected. So this is a part of it. Now something additional to it, failure of testis to get descent in scrotum is called as cryptorchidism. इस word को याद रखें. So cryptorchidism is a process, or we can say is an event in which testis will not descend in scrotum, they will remain in the body. So abdominal testis. Okay, so cryptorchidism को दूसरा नाम क्या आएगा? एब्डोमिनल टेस्टिस. समझ में आ रहा है बराबर? मैंने पहले ही कहा कि टेस्टिस वापस ही आएगा. टेस्टिस हम लोग जब टेस्टिस को डिस्क्राइब करेंगे तभी आएगा कि टेस्टिस आर प्रोड्यूस्ड इन एब्डोमेन. ओके, व्हेन द बॉडी इज बीइंग डेवलपिंग, मेल बॉडी इज बीइंग डेवलपिंग. ठीक है, तो टेस्टिस एब्डोमेन में तैयार हो जाएंगे. आफ्टर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ टेस्टिस एंड कंप्लीट डेवलपमेंट ऑफ टेस्टिस इन एब्डोमेन इन द 7th month ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी, मतलब 7th month के एंड में और 8th month के बिगिनिंग में ये टेस्टिस नीचे आ जाएंगे, धीरे धीरे एब्डोमेन में से नीचे खिसक आ जाएंगे एंड दे विल बी लॉज्ड इन स्क्रोटम. ये प्रोसेस नेचुरली होना चाहिए. अगर ये नहीं हो पाया तो उसको कहेंगे क्रिप्टोर्चिडिज्म. सो व्हेन अ मेल बेबी इज बोर्न एट दैट पर्टिकुलर टाइम, इन द मेल बेबी स्क्रोटम विल बी अवेलेबल बट टेस्टिस विल नॉट बी देयर इन स्क्रोटम. ओके, तो पहले तो देखना पड़ेगा कि टेस्टिस है कि नहीं है बॉडी के अंदर. यस, बिकॉज देयर इज अ डिसऑर्डर व्हिच वी हैव अंडरस्टूड अर्लियर, क्रोमोसोमल डिसऑर्डर नोन एज लाइनफील्टर सिंड्रोम, which is half male half female. अगर ऐसी वाली हालत है तो it is unicoidism, testes are not developed properly. okay, तो उस हालत में अपने को सोनोग्राफी करना पड़ेगा बच्चे का कि भाई टेस्टिस है कि नहीं. अगर टेस्टिस है तो बॉडी के अंदर है क्या. if they are there in the body and if they have not descended down, then a minor surgery is done, and because of surgery the testes are brought and bring into the scrotum very well and kept in the scrotum very well. okay, तो टेस्टिस का स्क्रोटम में रहना बहुत 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 जरूरी है. अगर ये स्क्रोटम में नहीं रहेंगे तो स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस के ऊपर असर पड़ेगा. फाइन, सो रिमेंबर दिस आइडिया वेरी वेल. देन वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, हाँ, वन मोर थिंग बिफोर वी प्रोसीड. टेस्टिस के बारे में, स्क्रोटम is a property of mammals, we said earlier, but it is not found in all mammals. There are certain mammals like elephants which don't have got scrotum, and there are some aquatic mammals, even they don't have got scrotum. okay, मतलब in case of elephant and in case of aquatic mammals में कौन कौन आएगा? it will be whales, seals and dolphins. याद रखना ये सब बराबर से. so aquatic mammals में whales, seals, dolphins आएंगे. इसके अंदर क्या होता है? scrotum नहीं होता, मतलब testes are not present in the scrotum. they don't have got scrotal testes, they are having abdominal testes including elephant. एक और एनिमल के बारे में बताना चाहूंगा, जैसे कि चिमगादड़. चिमगादड़ मतलब आपको मालूम होगा वटवा गुड़ मराठी मध्ये म्हणणार, एंड इट इज बैट. बैट इज ऑल्सो मैमल, फ्लाइंग मैमल, वी कॉल इट एज. bats are, you must be knowing, bats are suspending onto the trees or maybe caves upside down. okay, so in case of bats, whenever there is a breeding season, testes are in scrotum, they have scrotum, bats are having scrotum, but in case of bats, during breeding season only the testes would remain in scrotum, otherwise they will be withdrawn in body. so this up and down movement of testes from abdomen to scrotum and scrotum to abdomen, देखो ये पूछेंगे, forward and backward movement of testes is seen in which of the following animals. तो ये बैट उसके अंदर आपको याद रखना है, बैट याद रखिए. okay, so now let us proceed with structure of testis. we have to understand. so pair of testis we are going to study. testis का position अपने को अलग से बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. it is same as that of scrotum, means testis are placed in scrotum, that is sufficient. so they will be present onto the ventral side of the body, attached to the pelvis and all that, blah blah blah, whatever we have done is important. now actually speaking, testis are mesodermal in origin. mesoderm मतलब आपको पता होगा कि बॉडी के 3 layers है. whenever we are developing, our embryo develops 3 layers, ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. so mesoderm से ये testis तैयार हो जाएंगे. they will be developed in the abdominal cavity and then will be descending into scrotum, as I told you, at the end of 7th month of pregnancy or embryonic development we can say, and they are made to descend down through a connection between the scrotum and abdomen. याद रखना बराबर से, बॉडी मतलब abdomen और scrotum के बीच में एक छोटा सा कनेक्शन होता है. there are 2 small canals available. those canals are called as inguinal canals या inguinal canals. जैसे आपको प्रोनाउंस करना है प्रोनाउंस कर सकते हो. inguinal canals are important. these inguinal canals are the canals through which the testes are made to descend down and brought in scrotum and placed in scrotum. Okay. Once the testes are down, brought in scrotum, then the inguinal canals will be filled with fibrous connective tissue so that the testis should not come up once again. Okay. तो नेचुरली टेस्टिस वापस बॉडी के अंदर आना मुश्किल है, बट कभी कभी अगर ये इंगिनल कनल का फिलिंग अप बराबर से नहीं हुआ होगा या देर आर सम डिसऑर्डर्स, तो उसके अंदर ये सब कुछ हो सकता है. ओके, सो टेस्टिस ऊपर आ सकते हैं. अगर ये फट गया तो पॉसिबिलिटी है कि ये हो सकेगा. फाइन. नाउ टेस्टिस का स्ट्रक्चर अगर हम लोग करेंगे तो इट इज ओवल शेप्ड और समवॉट spherical to oval shape, dark red colored in color we can say, and having a dimensions ranging between 4 to 5 centimeters in length. So this will be 4 to 5 centimeters, 2 to 3 centimeters in breadth, and the thickness will be around 3 centimeters. So these are the dimensions of testis. Try to remember. They are suspended in scrotal sac or scrotum with the help of spermatic cord that we have considered already earlier. This is called a single testicle. Okay, so actually speaking, this is the testis. Over to this, you could see this this is a compact single tube called as epididymis. Okay, and then from this epididymis is arising this small duct that is called as vas deferens. This vas deferens will be then covered by spermatic cord. Okay, spermatic cord के अंदर ये cover हो जाएगा. So these are the basic parts of testicle. Now we have to go for understanding internal structure of testis. When we cut open the testis, सैजिटल सेक्शन कहेंगे उसको, जब हम लोग टेस्टिस को लेके उसको जस्ट कट करेंगे, वर्टिकली कट करेंगे, सो इट्स इंटरनल स्ट्रक्चर कैन बी रिवील्ड वेरी वेल. If we take into consideration this internal structure, you will find that there are 3 layers available. The outermost covering of testis will be considered as tunica vaginalis. This tunica vaginalis, though it is having a name vagina, has got nothing to do with vagina. Vagina is a part of female reproductive system, फीमेल कॉपुलेटरी ऑर्गन. वो हम लोग फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम में सुनेंगे या उसको पढ़ेंगे वहां पे. सो ट्यूनिका वजाइनालिस इज अ लेयर which is made up of peritoneal tissue. This peritoneal tissue are the specialized tissue which are found in all abdominal organs. Each and every abdominal organ is covered by this peritoneal tissue except you know what, kidneys. Kidneys are retroperitoneal क्योंकि किडनी को अंदर से मतलब किडनी के ऊपर से कवरिंग नहीं होता है, किडनीज उसके पीछे होते हैं. They are called as retroperitoneal. We have studied in excretion chapter. But testes also are covered in peritoneal tissue covering. So it is giving a confirmation that testes are produced in abdomen and then they are brought in scrotum. Okay, ये अपने को प्रूफ मिल गया. समझ में आया क्या कंसेप्ट है? हाँ, तो क्वेश्चन हो सकता है, what is the proof that testes are produced in abdomen? आंसर उसका क्या आना चाहिए? Testes are having outermost covering of tunica vaginalis made up of peritoneal tissue. So this is the first and outermost covering. Actually, it is not considered as a layer of testis. It is a peritoneal tissue. तो ये testis का real covering नहीं है, but it is giving protection to the testis. Then there is a second layer or middle layer made up of fibrous connective tissue. This is called as tunica albuginea. Remember this very well. Tunica albuginea is a fibrous tissue covering. It will cover the testis and it will give partitions inside the testis. Testis के अंदर घुसेगा ये और testis के अंदर partitions बनाएगा. डायग्राम दिखाऊंगा तब उसको पता चलेगा आपको कैसे है ये. As a result of which the testis will be divided into very small compartments. These are around 200 to 300 lobules in the testis. So testis के अंदर lobules बनाने का काम होगा tunica albuginea का. There is a third layer known as tunica vasculosa. Tunic मतलब layer and vasculosa is vascularized, means it is a layer which is spongy layer and having dense network of blood vessels. Okay, it is a smooth connective tissue and fibrous connective tissue, spongy layer. This will be filling up in the lobules. तो tunica albuginea lobules बनाएगा, उसके अंदर एक layer fill होगा. That layer will be called as tunica vasculosa, and tunica vasculosa will be vascularized in nature. It is giving support to the tubes in the lobules. So each lobule will be consisting of around 1 to 4 highly coiled, very fine tubules that are called as seminiferous tubules. Try to understand this word. Seminiferous tubule means semen forming tubules. Semen का मतलब sperm forming tubules. इसके अंदर sperms बनते हैं. Okay, each tube is having a length of around 65 to 75 centimeter. अभी 65-75 सेंटीमीटर है, तो उसको अगर आप लोग इंचेस में कन्वर्ट करोगे तो कितना आएगा, अराउंड 27 है ना. 30 सेंटीमीटर इज इक्वल टू 1 फुट. 1 फुट इज इक्वल टू 12 सेंटीमीटर, 12 इंचेस. तो 60 का क्या हो जाएगा, 12 + 12 24 हो जाएगा. और ऊपर जो 5 है तो 27 to 30 वी कैन से इंचेस विल बी द लेंथ ऑफ. बराबर से याद रखना. ओके, सो ये इंचेस में भी पूछ सकते हैं. सो इट विल बी इन सेंटीमीटर्स, अराउंड 65 to 75 सेंटीमीटर्स इन लेंथ ईच ट्यूब. तो ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. अभी क्या होगा, 1 to 4. सो ऑन एन एवरेज 2 ट्यूब्स आर प्रेजेंट इन ईच लोब्यूल. हाउ मेनी लोब्यूल्स आर देयर, 200 to 300. सो एवरेज पकड़ते हैं, 250 लोब्यूल्स आर देयर. सो 250 into 2 विल बी 500. ओके, 500 ट्यूब्यूल्स हो गए. और हर एक की लेंथ कितनी है, 65 to 75. तो 70 पकड़ते हैं. सो 500 into 70 अगर हम लोग एवरेज निकालेंगे तो ये जो लेंथ आएगा, इतना लेंथ अवेलेबल है अपने टेस्टिस के अंदर, सो एज टू प्रोड्यूस स्पर्म्स. This entire tubules, they are lined with specialized cells, and those cells are important. Now see, look at this particular picture. You'll understand this is a sagittal section of testis. The outermost layer, which is shown with the help of dotted line, is actually a layer of what we can say tunica vaginalis. Then this layer, which is pink colored over here, is called as tunica albuginea, and bluish gray colored layer will be called as tunica vasculosa. You could see this is a cluster of seminiferous tubules, semen forming tubules. Okay, and remember that all these seminiferous tubules, they are converging towards this end. ये end को अभी हम लोग को describe करना है. Then these are vasa efferentia, very small tubules. Then this entire duct will be called as epididymis, and then this is called as vas deferens. तो कुछ मैंने बता दिया, अभी इसके ऊपर हम लोग थोड़ा सा डिस्कशन करेंगे. So all lobules of seminiferous tubules, as well as the seminiferous tubules inside it, they will converge towards the end of testis, that is dorsal end of testis, and they open into a network. This network will be called as rete testis. Now you could see this dorsal end, all these tubules, see they are opening into this. यहाँ पे जो दिख रहा है yellow color का ये patch, actually it is a network of tubules. Vertical and horizontal tubules are there so as to form a dense network. So all these tubules, seminiferous tubules, they are opening into it, and then this network will be called as rete testis. Rete का मतलब network, testis मतलब testis के अंदर होने वाला. So that's why it is called as rete testis. Why this all jumbling is there? This entire jumbling is to make the sperms active. Sperms यहाँ पे बनेंगे, उसको छोड़ दिया जाएगा. They will be brought over here, and then they will have to find their way out up to this region. So to make the sperms active, rete testis is important. Rete testis will give a bunch of around 15 to 20 fine ducts. See, these are the very fine ducts, 15 to 20 fine ducts. They are called as vasa efferentia. Remember, vas efferens and vas deferens alag alag hai. Vasa efferentia are the 15 to 20, we can say, fine tubules that are bringing testis, that are bringing sperms from rete testis to epididymis. ये connection पूछा जाएगा. Okay, so vasa efferentia are present before epididymis, and vas deferens is present after epididymis. So these fine tubules are important. They are called as, इसको क्या कहा जाएगा, vasa efferentia. They will all collectively open into a single long coiled tubule. This tubule is called as epididymis. Okay, in a transverse section or TS, as it is shown in the figure, you could see cut section. You couldn't see the cut section of seminiferous tubule. So to understand cut section of seminiferous tubule, you have to go ahead for remaining part. Okay, so next we have to understand is histology of testis. Now what is difference between histology and internal structure? Internal structure में हम लोग ने सिर्फ ऊपर से देख लिया structure कैसा है. Whenever we are talking about histological structure, histology is a study of microscopic study of tissue. Histology is a microscopic study of tissue. So microscopic level पे हम लोग testis का structure देखने वाले हैं. That's important. And so here, as you could see in this particular sectional view, there are some things that are to be revealed. This another diagram is a single seminiferous tubule. This seminiferous tubule will show presence of many things. As you could see, this is the outermost layer which is available, made up of germinal epithelial cells. These germinal epithelial cells will cut off, means will multiply so as to give spermatogonial cells. Okay, spermatogonia will undergo developmental stages so as to form primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, then spermatids and spermatozoa. So here you could see all the developing stages यहाँ पे देखने को मिलेंगे, and then these are all the sperms or maturing sperms. These maturing sperms, you will see that they're attached to specialized cells. These cells are called as cells of Sertoli. देखो यहाँ पे बीच में ये जो सेल है या यहाँ पे जो सेल है या फिर और यहाँ पे हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं, these are flame like cells or elongated cells, columnar cell types. Okay, यहाँ पे इस डायग्राम में भी देख सकते हो, ये सर्टोली सेल देखो कैसे थोड़ा सा elongated है, बाकी के सेल्स थोड़े से रफली spherical है. Okay, Sertoli cells are also called as nurse cells. So during the development of the sperms, whenever the development is being complete, when the spermatids are formed, these spermatids, they will get attached to the cells of Sertoli. They will drag nutrition from cells of Sertoli and will get transformed into sperms. This process is called as spermiogenesis. We have understood it. Okay, spermatogenesis. So spermiogenesis will take place. That is, metamorphosis of sperms will be there from spermatids to sperm, and then the sperms will be released. So whatever I have described is there in the text now. Each tubule is having a lining of germinal epithelial cells. These germinal epithelial cells are not continuous, but they are interrupted with large, elongated, flame-like, column-like cells called as nurse cells or Sertoli cells. Sertoli नाम का scientist था, उसने discover किया. So the name of Sertoli cells. They are nursing or they are providing nourishment to the developing sperms or maturing sperms. That's why the name nurse cells. Okay, remember दोनों properties को बराबर से याद रखो. These cells will provide nourishment to the maturing sperms, and that's how the sperm bundles could be seen attached. देखो यहाँ पे ये जो पैच है ये sperm bundle है. Sperm bundle मतलब बहुत सारे sperms उसको चिपक के रहेंगे एक साथ, याद रखना बराबर. Different stages of development of sperm can be seen, as I told you. First stage होगा germinal epithelial cells, then spermatogonia, then primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatids, and even developing sperms will be seen attached or seen inside. Now, if you observe the entire section, अभी ये तो single seminiferous tubule था, ऐसे ये एक border दिखा रहा है seminiferous tubule का border, तो ये इसके अंदर वाला part है. यहाँ पे आप लोग देख सकते हो कि spermatid दिख रहा है आपको, primary spermatocyte दिख रहा है, then acrosomal vesicle दिख रहा है, ठीक है. Then ये जो वाला part है ये बाहर वाला part है. Okay, the part which is belonging to tunica vasculosa, vascular layer, and this vascular layer of testis is giving support to some specialized cells which are called as Leydig cells. ये Leydig cells, again Leydig scientist का नाम है जिसने उसको discover किया, also called as interstitial cells. Now see, this is one boundary of one seminiferous tubule. ऐसे किसी और की बाउंड्री होगी, उसके बीच में ये सेल्स अपने को दिखेंगे, and that's why they are called as interstitial cells. See, these are the cells called as interstitial cells. Why interstitial cells? Because they are present in between the seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules के बीच में ये cells placed किए रहते या रखे रहते, that's why they are called as interstitial cells or Leydig cells. These cells are also equally important. Reason, these cells are producing male sex hormone that is called as testosterone. So these cells are part of endocrine system, and that's why testes are regarded as endocrine gland. They are not natural, means they are not true endocrine gland, but they are regarded as endocrine glands. So remember two types of cells, nurse cells or Sertoli cells. They are present inside the seminiferous tubule, giving nourishment to the developing or maturing sperms, and there are Leydig cells or interstitial cells present in the testis but outside the seminiferous tubule, which are responsible for production of male sex hormone, that is testosterone. So this is a general characteristic feature. Now, after studying the testis histology, we have to go for epididymis. I showed you epididymis. Epididymis is a single, long and highly coiled, dense tubule. ये एक ही tube है, which is having a length of around 6 meters, but its thickness is around 400 माइक्रोन, मतलब आधे मिलीमीटर से भी ये कम है थिकनेस में, लेकिन इसका लेंथ बहुत ज्यादा है, 6 मीटर्स, मीन्स अराउंड 4 टाइम्स आवर हाइट। ओके, ह्यूमन का हाइट हम लोग कहते हैं कि अराउंड 5 फीट होता है, 5 फीट का मतलब होता है 1.5 मीटर। सो अपने एवरेज हाइट से 4 गुना लंबा ये ट्यूब है। Okay, so this highly coiled means this long tube will be folded on itself. It will be coiled on itself and will be kept onto the dorsal surface of the testis. Okay, it is having around 400 micron thickness that I told you. Now this epididymis will receive sperms, as we discussed in the earlier diagram in the internal structure of testis. I told you all the seminiferous tubules are converging towards dorsal end, where you will find rete testis. So all the seminiferous tubule will open into rete testis. Then rete testis will be giving around 15 to 20 small ducts, which are called as vasa efferentia, and this vasa efferentia will collectively open into a single coiled duct, that is epididymis. Okay, this epididymis will cover entire dorsal surface of testis, will come to the lowermost end, posteriormost end of testis, and will continue as a vas deferens. ओके, तो ये थोड़ा सा याद रखना, मतलब वासा एपिडिडाइमिस से ही कंटिन्यू होता है वास डिफरेंस ट्यूब. Now, this coiled dense portion of epididymis will be divided into 3 parts. Again, CET ka question. What these 3 parts are? Anteriormost portion, which will come to lie over the testis, anterior surface of the testis, will be called as caput epididymis. Listen, this word, caput epididymis. Then there is a middle portion which is covering the entire dorsal lining, will be called as corpus epididymis. And the third portion, which is the lower region towards the posterior end of testis, will be called as cauda epididymis. बहुत आसान है याद रखने के लिए. Caput relates to cap. So सर के ऊपर कैप पहनते हैं, तो ऊपर वाला जो पार्ट है उसको कैपुट एपिडिडाइमिस कहेंगे. कॉर्पस मतलब बॉडी, मेन पार्ट है ना. सो मेन जो बॉडी है एपिडिडाइमिस का, उसको हम लोग कहेंगे कॉर्पस एपिडिडाइमिस. एंड देन लोअर वाला जो पार्ट, उसको टेल कहेंगे. टेल का मतलब कॉर्ड, सो कॉर्डा एपिडिडाइमिस. ओके, सो ये 3 पार्ट्स पूछे जाएंगे, 1 मार्क के लिए भी पूछा जाएगा एग्जाम में अपने को. व्हाट आर द 3 पार्ट्स ऑफ epididymis? After epididymis comes a duct that is called as vas deferens. Singular word है, plural word आएगा vasa differentia, taking into consideration on both the sides. So this vas deferens or vasa differentia are the ducts which are starting from the posterior most end of testis at the end of epididymis, and they run anteriorly through spermatic cord. They enter into the abdomen, then they will take turn around the urinary bladder, and then they will come onto the ventral surface. So to make this particular journey, इतना लंबा जर्नी उस डक्ट को करने का है, तो उसका लेंथ बहुत ज्यादा होना चाहिए. So each vas deferens is a milky white type of duct having 5 millimeters of thickness and around 40 centimeters in length. 30 to 40 centimeters उसका लेंथ दिया जाता है. So this is a basic thing. जैसे मैंने डिस्क्राइब किया कि ये it will arise from the posteriormost end of testis at the end of epididymis. Then it will enter into the spermatic cords. Along with spermatic cords, it will enter or will pass through inguinal canals and will enter into abdomen. Abdomen में आने के बाद ये थोड़ा सा टर्न लेगा अपने urinary bladder से, and then will come to the front side so as to open collectively into urethra. But before it opens into urethra, it will come to meet with a small duct coming from a gland. That gland is called as seminal vesicle. So duct of seminal vesicle and duct of vas deferens together will fuse so as to form a short duct that is called as ejaculatory duct. So one such duct from each side will open into urethra. So ये हम लोग को बाद में डिस्कशन में भी आने वाला है. So remember this very well. So this is how we can say vasa differentia is there. Now seminal vesicle, I told you. तो देखो अभी continuous tube क्या हो गया, seminiferous tubules है. Seminiferous tubules will open into rete testis. Rete testis will open into vasa efferentia. Vasa efferentia collectively will open into vas epididymis. Epididymis will continue as vas deferens. Vas deferens has to continue as ejaculatory duct. But on the way I told you, on the way it will meet with a duct coming from a gland. This gland is called as seminal vesicle. Now the seminal vesicle is a paired gland. So ये organs paired है. Okay, so these are the glands which are present on the lower side, means towards the posterior side, or we can say below the urinary bladder, and at the end of vas deferens. Vas deferens जहाँ पे end होता है वहां पे ये duct होना चाहिए, या फिर हम लोग कहेंगे जहाँ पे ये duct है वहां पे vas deferens end होता है. Anything is true. Each seminal vesicle, we can say, is a glandular organ having 5 to 10 centimeters in size and 3 to 5 centimeters in diameter. So थोड़ा सा बड़ा gland है ये. This gland is important. Okay, lower part of this gland will have a tube, and this tube will be called as duct of seminal vesicle. मतलब gland, of course, हर एक gland के लिए एक tube होना जरूरी है. Not necessary. Endocrine gland है तो tube नहीं होगा. ये exocrine gland है. That's why it is having a tube. So seminal vesicle is an exocrine gland. So it will end in a tube. This tube is called as duct of seminal vesicle. This duct of seminal vesicle will fuse with vas deferens so as to form ejaculatory duct. Now, what is function of this seminal vesicle? Seminal vesicle will secrete a fluid. This fluid will be forming a base or ground liquid, okay, or ground plasma for suspending sperms. Fluid given by this gland will be called as seminal fluid. It is little bit yellowish colored or yellowish white colored, off white we can say, and it will contribute around 70 to 85% of semen. Semen is a male genital fluid. मतलब copulation के वक्त ये fluid penis में से बाहर दिया जाएगा. It will contain sperms, not only sperms, but it will consist of seminal fluid. It will consist of prostatic fluid also. We'll discuss it later on separately. Semen को हम लोग बाद में वापस से study करने वाले हैं. Secretion of seminal vesicles will contain some specialized substances, like it will be having proteins. Proteins are essential for coagulation, so as to keep the sperms together. It will have enzyme. It will have fructose. Remember, very, very important thing. Fructose is found only in seminal fluid, nowhere else in the body of human, not of male or even female. ठीक है? So fructose को बहुत ज़्यादा importance दिया जाएगा. Now, why it is so? Our body cells make use of glucose as a source of energy, है ना? तो एनर्जी पाने के लिए हम लोग के बॉडी के अंदर सेल्स जो है वो सेल्स क्या करेंगे, ग्लूकोज को ऑक्सीडाइज करते हैं और एनर्जी पाते हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एटीपी. बट sperms cannot make use of glucose. Sperms make use of fructose, and that is why fructose will be there in seminal fluid. So when sperms are suspended in seminal fluid, they will get nutrition from this fructose. They will make use of this fructose. There will be mucus available. So we have considered that there are proteins for coagulation, enzymes to carry out certain action, fructose to give nourishment to the activated sperms. Then there is mucus available. Mucus is a slimy substance essential for what purpose? So as to make the lubrication. Sperms body के अंदर चिपक के नहीं रहने चाहिए. They should be all delivered out so as to maintain the quantity of sperm. And that's why this mucus is essential. Vitamin C will be essential so as to activate sperm. Fibrinogen to form fibers, sorry, for coagulation purpose. And phosphoryl chlorine and prostaglandins. These are all sperm activators. Phosphoryl chlorine and prostaglandins are the sperm activators. ये sperm को हमेशा motivate करते रहेंगे. Sperms की motility का मतलब sperms हिलने चाहिए. Okay, sperms are motile in nature. Sperms travel through the female genital tract and they reach up to the ovum so as to fertilize the ovum. तो उनकी motility को maintain करवाने के लिए, motility को maintain रखने के लिए ये सब factors जरूरी बनते हैं. So all these are present. Now fructose, as I told you, will provide energy to the spermatozoa. अभी ये fructose को use किया जाता है कहाँ पे? Forensic science में. ठीक है, कभी कभार कुछ रेप सीन हुआ तो आजकल दोनों तरफ से प्रॉब्लम हो सकते हैं. मतलब कभी कभी फीमेल्स भी रॉन्ग बोल सकते हैं कि फलाना फलाना आदमी ने मेरे को रेप किया. अभी रेप किया मतलब क्या? देयर इज अ फोर्स्ड सेक्सुअल कॉपुलेशन. फोर्स्ड कॉपुलेशन को रेप कहते हैं. अगर दोनों के अंडरस्टैंडिंग से है, मेल फीमेल के अंडरस्टैंडिंग से है, तो उसको कॉपुलेशन कहा जाएगा. इफ इट इज नॉट सो देन इट विल बी कॉल्ड एज रेप. इफ इट इज अगेंस्ट द विल ऑफ फीमेल. ठीक है. I think so. There is some movie of Amitabh Bachchan and I don't know the name of that heroine. ठीक है. उसमें उन्होंने डिफाइन किया है, नहीं मतलब नो मीन्स नॉट. ओके, सो वॉच दैट मूवी. आई एम नॉट गेटिंग द नेम ऑफ दैट मूवी, विल टेल यू. सो एक्चुअली स्पीकिंग, ये जो रेप सीन्स है, वहां पे क्या होगा कि अगर सही में रेप हुआ है या सही में सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स किसी भी तरह से हुआ है, तो सीमेन विल बी देयर डिलीवर्ड इन द बॉडी ऑफ फीमेल. तो फीमेल बॉडी के अंदर से वजाइना से अगर स्वैब लिया जाएगा, तो क्या होगा, स्वैब लेने से पता चलेगा कि उस स्वैब को टेस्टिंग करेंगे. स्वैब विल बी टेस्टेड फॉर प्रेजेंस ऑफ फ्रुक्टोज. अगर वजाइना के अंदर फ्रुक्टोज मिला, तो इसका मतलब सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स हुआ है. अगर वजाइना के अंदर स्वैब नहीं, फ्रुक्टोज नहीं मिला, फ्रुक्टोज के ट्रेसेस नहीं मिले, तो सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स नहीं हुआ है. या कहीं रेप सीन अटेम्प्ट हुआ है और अगर सीमेन के ड्रॉपलेट्स कहीं पे मिले, तो दोज ड्रॉपलेट्स आर पिक्ड अप फॉर two purposes. Number one, for testing of fructose, and number two, for getting DNA from male body. है ना, जैसे हम लोगों ने बायोटेक्नोलॉजी में देखा कि डीएनए फिंगरप्रिंटिंग के लिए ये सीमेन के ड्रॉपलेट्स उठाने जरूरी है, तो अपने को सस्पेक्ट का डीएनए फिंगरप्रिंट मिल सकता है. ओके, तो ये फोरेंसिक साइंस की बात हो गई. आप लोग इसका कोर्स कर सकते हो, बीएससी इन फोरेंसिक साइंस. ठीक है, ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें अपने को देखने को मिलेगी. फाइन. सो फ्रुक्टोज के बारे में मैंने बता दिया था, व्हाट इज फ्रुक्टोज डूइंग. Then seminal vesicle fluid is alkaline in nature. It will be keeping the medium alkaline so that the sperms will be active. Sperms जो है उनको alkaline medium की जरूरत है human sperms के लिए. बाकी कुछ animals है जैसे कि dog के जो sperms है, उस sperms को acidic medium की जरूरत होती है. बट ह्यूमन के sperms जो है उनको alkaline medium में रखा जाता है. तो अगर alkaline medium नहीं रहेगा तो तकलीफ हो सकती है, sperm मर सकते हैं. Okay, this alkaline medium of semen will be responsible for neutralizing the acidity of vagina and acidity of even uterus. Okay, भी हम लोग मतलब whenever there is a copulation and whenever the sperms are delivered in female genital tract, at that particular time this will be effective. Female genital tract जो है उसको acidic रखा जाता है so as to avoid infections. Okay, so whenever there is a semen delivered in genital tract, the alkalinity of semen or seminal fluid will neutralize the acidity so that the sperms will remain intact. Sperms will not die. So sperms nahi marenge. Then we have to consider ejaculatory duct. So it's a small duct of around, we can say 1 inch in length, 2.5 to 3 centimeters in length, means 1 inch in length. This duct is formed by the fusion of duct of seminal vesicle and duct of vas deferens. So vas deferens coming from testis and seminal duct coming from seminal vesicle. Both of this, they will fuse together so as to form ejaculatory duct. This ejaculatory duct will be coming from either side of the body, मतलब left side or right side से आएंगे, and both of them, they are opening into urethra. This part of urethra will be called as prostatic urethra. Now see, there is a junction. Okay, junction of 3 ducts. कौन से 3 ducts है? There are 2 small ducts of ejaculatory duct type and urethra. Urethra के अंदर ये open हो जाएंगे, तो ये तीनों ducts जो है जहाँ पे fuse होते हैं, that junction will be covered with another gland. That gland is called as prostatic gland or prostate gland. Prostate gland is a what we can say एक छोटा सा gland है, donut shaped gland, it we can say. This gland will be present in front of rectum, but just below the urinary bladder, covering this junction. कौन सा जंक्शन? यूरेथ्रा और ejaculatory ducts का जंक्शन जो है उसको ये कवर करके रहेगा. This gland is weighing around 30 grams and this prostatic gland will be around having 20 to 30 lobules. Each lobule will give a small duct. This duct will be opening either in ejaculatory duct or will be opening into urethra. मैंने क्या कहा समझ में आया? Prostatic gland जो है वो exocrine glands है. It is having ducts available. हर एक lobule 20 से 30 lobules है उसके अंदर. Each lobule will be giving a small duct. This duct will be opening into either ejaculatory duct or will be opening into urethra, so that the secretion of prostate gland will be ultimately poured into either ejaculatory duct or in urethra. So that is important. This will secrete, prostatic gland will secrete a milky white secretion just like that of a seminal fluid, and it is called as prostatic duct or prostatic fluid. This prostatic fluid will be contributing around 30% of semen. तो semen जो है उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें मिली होती है. It will also consist of certain enzymes. It will having zinc ions and citric acid. All these are sperm activators. तो sperm को activate करने के लिए सब चीजों की जरूरत होती है. And that's why all these things are there available in. One of the enzyme present over here in prostatic fluid is prostate specific antigen. Okay, this makes enzyme thick after ejaculation. ये जो है ये enzyme prostatic or prostate specific antigen will make the semen thick after ejaculation. Ejaculation होने के बाद semen को एकदम thick बना देगा, coagulate कर देगा, so that all the sperms will remain together. They will not get dispersed from one another. So the sperms can be given in bulk. Okay, that is an idea behind it. Prostatic fluid again is alkaline. Again, उसका reason वही है. So counteract the acidity of vagina and uterus so as to protect the sperms. Then there is another gland available called as Copper's gland. Now, Copper's gland is also called as bulbourethral gland. What is this bulbourethral gland? Bulbo का मतलब bulb जैसे है और ये urethra में open होते हैं. That's why it is called as bulbourethral gland. Was discovered by name of the scientist Copper. That's why it is called as Copper's gland. It is paired small P-shaped gland, and these glands are placed one on either side of the urethra just before urethra enters into penis. Urethra जो उसको penis में जाना है, तो urethra जब penis में जाएगा उसके पहले ये gland जो है gland urethra में open हो जाएंगे. Secretion of Copper's gland is called as Copper's gland secretion, and again is important. It is a milky white secretion will consisting of mucus and alkaline salts. These mucus and alkaline salts are very important. Mucus will be lubricating the entire path through which sperms are to be transferred. Okay, so entire urethra, पूरा urethra जो है उस urethra को ये अंदर से क्या करेंगे, lubricate कर देंगे, so that the sperms can be made to pass through it very easily. It is also making the urethra alkaline. Okay, so that the sperms will be made active. तो दो पार्ट्स है उसके अंदर कॉपर्स ग्लैंड सिक्रेशन में, एक तो म्यूकस है और एक अल्कलाइन सॉल्ट्स है. अल्कलाइन सॉल्ट्स देखो हर एक में अल्कलाइन सॉल्ट्स है, so as to keep the sperms active. Okay, now this secretion is very important because it is given first at a time of sexual excitation in males. Whenever there is a what we can say emotions of sex or sexual excitation, whenever is there, the copper gland will get activated. This copper gland secretion will be given first, means before the semen is delivered out, the copper gland secretion is given. Reason, this copper gland secretion will make the entire urethra lubricated. Even it will be given out from urethra, will be brought to spread on the tip of the penis. This tip of penis is called as glans penis, so that the glans penis will be made lubricated, well lubricated, so that there is easiness in the sexual contact or easiness in copulation. Another reason is the urethra is continuously, or urethra is normally conducting urine, and this urine is acidic. तो urethra के अंदर से acidic traces शायद चिपके होंगे, तो उसको avoid करने के लिए before the semen is being delivered, Copper's gland secretion is given out. Alkalinity of this Copper's gland secretion will neutralize the acidic traces of urine. Okay, getting it? So ये सब उसके functions है, so that the sperms will be given out very well or given out easily. Urethra we have studied. It is a duct that is arising from posterior most end of urinary bladder, around 20 centimeters in length in case of male, that passes through penis. Okay, now this is a common passage for urine and semen. Urine will be made to pass through it frequently, and semen will be made to pass through it occasionally. So in case of males, after puberty, sperms or semen will be made to pass through urethra, and so it is commonly called as urinogenital duct. Why urinogenital? Because urinary fluid and genital fluid will be made to pass through this. This urethra will be divided into three parts. First part, which is covered by prostate gland, will be called as prostatic urethra. Second part is middle portion, which is not covered by any part, will be considered as, means usko covering nahi रहेगा, that will be called as uncovered region, membranous urethra. And third part will be there called as penile urethra. Okay, so why penile urethra? Because it passes through penis. इसी को स्पॉन्जियोस यूरेथ्रा भी कहा जाता है बिकॉज इट इज सपोर्टेड बाय मसल, स्पॉन्जियोस मसल ऑफ पेनिस. ओके, कॉर्पस स्पॉन्जियोसा मसल होता है पेनिस के अंदर, ये उसको सपोर्ट करता है, दैट्स व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज स्पॉन्जियोस यूरेथ्रा. तो स्पॉन्जियोस यूरेथ्रा एंड पेनाइल यूरेथ्रा आर सेम, रिमेंबर वेरी वेल. Okay, this urethra will pass through penis and will open to exterior at the tip of the penis through glans penis as a urethral opening or urethral orifice or urethral meatus. Meatus का मतलब opening, orifice का मतलब भी opening. Now penis, we have to understand, penis is a male copulatory organ. Now why it is called as copulatory organ? Because it is useful for mating process, and that's what is called as copulatory organ. It is a cylindrical and muscular structure. Cylindrical है, muscle से बना हुआ है. Under normal condition, when it is not excited, its length will be around 10 to 12 centimeters and width will be around 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Okay, it is a loose muscular organ normally, and will be composed of 3 muscular bands. And these muscular bands, they are made up of specialized tissue called as erectile tissue. Now, what is this erectile tissue? Erectile tissue is muscle with network of blood vessels into it. तो muscles के अंदर से blood vessel का network रहेगा, so it will be called as erectile tissue. These 3 muscular bands are important. There are 2 muscular bands present along the dorsolateral side. They are short in nature and are called as corpora cavernosa. Corpus मतलब body, corpora is a plural of it. Being 2, it will be called as corpora cavernosa. Then there is a single band available called as corpus spongiosa. This single band muscular band will be available along the ventral side or ventromedian side. It is longer than corpus cavernosa and it will be giving support to urethra. Even tip of the sperm called as glans penis will be responsible for formation of tip of the penis, that is glans penis will be made up of this particular part. Okay, so MCQ का क्वेश्चन बनता है glans penis is made up of, आंसर आएगा corpus spongiosa. So remember this, as we have said earlier, these are all erectile tissue. Okay, this all 3 bands will be placed together and at the center of these 3 bands there will be urethra passing through it, taking support of corpus spongiosa. Then penis is having a covering of loose skin. Now whenever male is young or not matured, the skin will be tight. Okay, skin जो है penis के ऊपर की skin वो tight होगी, but as there is a puberty, the skin specifically on the glans penis will become loose and it will be called as, इसको क्या कहा जाएगा, foreskin, और इसको कहा जाएगा prepuce. And this prepuce has to become loose so that the glans penis should protrude out of it. Okay, this entire arrangement is to have ease in the process of copulation. So covering of skin याद रखना, and at the tip of the skin there will be a extra covering of skin that is called as prepuce or foreskin, that you have to remember. Okay, so this is a general characteristic feature so far as is concerned. Okay, now this is a diagrammatic representation for section of penis. This is a section, we can say this particular part is called as corpus spongiosum. You could see a small duct through it, that is spongios urethra. Then corpus cavernosum, and this all red dots you could see is nothing but the blood vessels, network of blood vessels passing through it. Okay, so that is a characteristic feature, so they're important. So जैसे मैंने कहा कि ये सब prepuce का arrangement किस लिए है, this is to make the semen eject out forcefully in the genital tract of female. So ये सब important है. During sexual excitation क्या हो जाएगा, नॉर्मल कंडीशन में हम लोगों ने कहा कि ये पेनिस जो है वो लूज ऑर्गन है, बट व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ सेक्सुअल एक्साइटेशन और इमोशंस ऑफ सेक्स, द पेनिस विल change its morphology. During sexual excitation, the blood supply to penis will increase around 10 times the normal blood supply. मतलब समझो नॉर्मल कंडीशन में पेनिस में 10 ml ब्लड फ्लो होता है, तो अंडर एक्साइटेशन, सेक्सुअल एक्साइटेशन, ब्लड फ्लो थ्रू penis will be 100 ml. This blood will be flowing through all these ducts, देखो ये जो छोटे छोटे ducts है मसल्स के अंदर, उसके अंदर से ये ब्लड पास हो जाएगा. This will develop hydrostatic pressure. Because of hydrostatic pressure, the penis will change its morphology. It will increase in length, it will increase in thickness, and it will get erected. Means it will become little hard and erected. At this particular time, the prepuce needs to get reverted back, as a result of which glans penis is exposed, and such a penis will be then we can say introduced into female genital tract so as to transfer the sperms into female genital tracts. So this is a function of penis. Now we have to understand the diagrammatic representation. उसके पहले अपने को semen के बारे में थोड़ा सा जानना है. What is semen? Semen is a male genital fluid. This male genital fluid will be containing sperms, but not sperms, not only sperms. There will be some additional things, like it will be alkaline in nature, having a pH of around 7.2 to 7.7, slightly alkaline in nature, milky white or off-white we can say in color. So when it is viscous, it will be having 60% of seminal fluid, 30% of prostatic fluid, and 10% of sperms. Okay, so it will also consist of this fluid from epididymis also. So these are the content of it. Release of semen from body of male will be called as ejaculation. Event of release of semen from body will be called as ejaculation, and the amount of semen that is released will be called as ejaculum. Remember these two words: ejaculation, eject. हाँ, तो eject से ये word आया ejaculation, और ejaculum मतलब जो बाहर निकल के आया है liquid, इसको कहेंगे ejaculum. So this is important. Ejaculum released at a time is around 3 to 4 ml milliliters. 3 से 4 milliliters तक का ejaculum बाहर निकल के आ सकता है. It is released at a time. That is important. It consists of around 350 to 400 million sperms. Sperm count अगर आप लोग देखना चाहोगे तो sperm count is around 80 to 120 million. Remember, 80 to 120 million sperms are present per ml per milliliter of semen. Sperm count पूछा तो ये नंबर आना चाहिए. अभी कितना semen दिया जाएगा? 3 to 4 ml. तो multiply 80 to 120 by 3 to 4. You will get the total number of sperms present in ejaculum. So that's an idea behind it. Fructose will be there, used in the semen. We have studied it earlier. It is a part of seminal fluid and can be used as a fuel by sperms. Then there are bicarbonate ions available which will help in neutralizing acidity of uterus. That is also important. Prostaglandins are present over there so as to keep the sperms active and avoid the peristalsis of vagina. See, whenever there is a copulation, sperms are delivered in vagina, and whenever there is any foreign material taken in the body, our body tends to give it out. So as soon as sperms are being delivered in vagina will start peristalsis or peristaltic movement so as to give the sperms out. लेकिन ये नहीं होना चाहिए. अगर peristalsis successful रहा, peristaltic action successful रहा, तो sperms बाहर भेज दिए जाएंगे, and in that case there will not be successful fertilization. So to avoid or to counteract peristalsis of peristalsis of vagina, the prostaglandins are important. Okay, so that's an idea behind it. Now we have to understand the diagrammatic representation. You could see all these parts over here. This is a testicle, epididymis first, vasa differentia coming out through inguinal canal, then taking a turn around the ladder, coming over here, meets with a gland. This gland will be called as seminal vesicle. A short duct will be there called as prostatic ejaculatory duct, which will be passing through prostate gland and will be opening into this particular part called as urethra. ठीक है, एक और व्यू में दिखाऊंगा, उसमें आपको क्लियरली समझ में आएगा. दिस इज अ पेंसिल स्केच. अगर आपको डायग्राम ड्रॉ करने के लिए बोला तो ये डायग्राम ड्रॉ करना पड़ेगा. सो दिस इज अ पार्ट ऑफ testis, vas deferens, epididymis. Then this is vas deferens coming onto the ventral side. These are seminal vesicles at the base of urinary bladder. These short ducts will be called as ejaculatory ducts. Okay. Then this gland entirely will be called as prostate gland, and this small gland will be called as bulbourethral gland or Copper's gland. This entire portion, muscular portion, will be penis, and see through it is passing urethra. This is the tip of the penis called as glans penis, and the tip over there is an opening. Opening is called as urinogenital opening, and this skin that is covering glans penis will be called as foreskin, or foreskin का दूसरा नाम क्या था? Prepuce. Okay, so that is all about the male reproductive system. Now we'll have to consider female reproductive system. एक 5 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं. इसमें हम लोग सिर्फ मैं चालू रखता हूँ सब कुछ, बट लॉग ऑफ मत होना. 5 मिनट के बाद हम लोग वापस आएंगे. So after understanding and considering male reproductive system, we need to go for female reproductive system now. So female reproductive system again, now actually speaking, it is very simple to study, but little bit complicated for function. Male reproductive system और female reproductive system में basic difference यही है कि male reproductive system थोड़ा structure में complicated है, function में बहुत simple है, और female reproductive system structure में थोड़ा सा simple है, functioning में complicated है. कैसे हम लोग देख लेते हैं. So it is organ system so as to perform following tasks in फीमेल बॉडी. फीमेल बॉडी के अंदर कुछ टास्क करने के लिए उसको बनाया गया है. जैसे कि हम लोग ने देखा मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम के कुछ टास्क है, वैसे ही फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम के भी कोई टास्क है, लाइक प्रोडक्शन ऑफ गैमेट्स. जैसे स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस मेल में होता है, वैसे oogenesis फीमेल में होगा, एंड प्रोडक्शन ऑफ ओवा विल बी देयर टेकिंग प्लेस इन फीमेल बॉडी. ओवा विल बी मेंटेन्ड टिल फर्टिलाइजेशन, सो दैट इज अनदर टास्क. Then receiving sperms will be third task. Maintaining sperms till fertilization will be another task. So देखो ये उसके टास्क बहुत ज्यादा है. Okay, carry out fertilization or to allow fertilization, provide an environment for fertilization is one more task. Then it will allow implantation. जब fertilization होके zygote बनेगा, this zygote will start developing. Being internal development, इंटरनल फर्टिलाइजेशन तो है, लेकिन डेवलपमेंट भी अपना इंटरनल होता है, बॉडी के अंदर होता है फीमेल के. दिस डेवलपिंग एम्ब्रियो विल गेट अटैच्ड टू द यूटेरस और यूटेराइन वॉल. इवन दिस इवेंट इज कॉल्ड एज इम्प्लांटेशन. इवन दैट इज अलाउड बाय फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम. कंडक्ट ग्रोथ ऑफ फीटस. जो फीटस मतलब नया बच्चा जो है उसकी ग्रोथ कंडक्ट करना है. गिव बर्थ टू बेबी, बच्चे को पैदा करना, बॉडी में से बाहर एक्सपेल करना, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज birth of baby, or parturition, that is done, and even nourishment of the baby after birth with the help of milk secreted by mammary glands of female body. So these are the different tasks of female reproductive system. To perform these tasks, there are organs required. So organs involved are very simple. There are only 4 organs available. Pair of ovaries will be there. After that, there will be a pair of oviducts. Then there is a single uterus. Actually, oviducts are the side walls or side extensions of uterus, so we may not study them separately. Then there is vagina. Vagina is a copulatory organ in case of female which will receive penis. External genitalia, that is vulva in female body, it is called as, and pair of vestibular glands available, plus pair of mammary glands. So very simple structure so far as is concerned that is involved in case of female body. So we have to understand ovaries first. What are the ovaries? Ovaries are small clusters of germinal epithelial cells which are attached to the uterus from external side. So these are primary sex organs of female which are placed in the pelvis region just besides the uterus. Rather, we can say they are attached to the uterus with the help of some muscular connections. Ovaries are called as primary sex organs because they produce ova, and besides production of ova, they also are responsible for production of female sex hormones. Female sex hormones are like, we can say 2 are important, estrogen and progesterone. So they are female sex organs produced by ovaries. Each ovary, again we can say, is pinkish colored, solid in nature, red colored. We have said organ having a length of around 3 centimeters in length, 2 centimeters in width, and 1 centimeter in thickness. Very small comparatively as compared to testes. Okay, there is a broad ligament which is a fold of peritoneal tissue which will attach the ovary and oviducts to uterus along the dorsal body wall. So is ligament का नाम याद रखना. It is a broad ligament available. Ovarian ligament also is available, which will connect the ovary to uterus. So ovary को uterus से connect करने के लिए ovarian ligament and ovary, uterus, and as well as the oviducts together will be connected to the dorsal body wall with the help of broad ligament. So these two ligaments are very important. So structure, you have to understand structure and development of ovary. ओवरी कैसे डेवलप होती है फीमेल के बॉडी के अंदर ड्यूरिंग द ग्रोथ ऑफ फीमेल बॉडी इन मदर्स बॉडी ड्यूरिंग प्रेगनेंसी, उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा आपने को करना है. ओवरी इज ए कॉम्पैक्ट ऑर्गन हैविंग outermost layer that is called as cortex and inner layer that is called as medulla. अभी दो layers है ovary के, cortex और medulla. Cortex is important, ovarian cortex is important, ovarian medulla is not that important. Ovarian medulla is essential for giving support. Okay, so it is giving support to the cortex, it is giving support to blood vessels, lymph vessels, nerves, etc. It is made up of connective tissue, spongy tissue, and so will be just forming a central core, central supporting core, not other than that. Cortex is important. Cortex is composed of compact and granular cells having covering of germinal epithelial cells. ये cover जो है पूरा एक germinal epithelial cell covering है. It has got tiny masses of cells. Those are called as ovarian follicles. Why ovarian follicles? Because they are present in ovary, so are called as ovarian follicles. During embryonic development, the ovaries start developing or forming or maturing. So how do they develop during embryonic development? That we have to understand. Dorsal endoderm of the yolk sac migrate to the gonal ridge and divide mitotically so as to form oogonia. अभी ये थोड़ा सा एम्ब्रियोलॉजी का पार्ट है, ये एम्ब्रियोलॉजी हम लोग एंड में देखने वाले हैं इस चैप्टर के. ओके, तो अपने बॉडी के जो 3 लेयर्स मैंने बताए थे, एक्टोडर्म, मेसोडर्म एंड एंडोडर्म, उसमें से एंडोडर्म जो है, एंडोडर्म से ओवरीज तैयार हो जाएगा. क्या कहा है यहाँ पे? एंडोडर्म ऑफ द योक सैक, मतलब योक सैक इज ए सेंट्रल स्पेस प्रेजेंट इन केस ऑफ डेवलपिंग एम्ब्रियो. तो योक सैक के ऊपर जो एंडोडर्म का कवरिंग है, इट विल गिव गोनाडल रीज और गोनाडल फिशर वी कैन से, एंड इट विल स्टार्ट डिवाइडिंग so as to form oogonia. Oogonia are diploid cells. Okay, further growth they will be surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells. इसको कहा जाता है membrana granulosa, and they will form rudimentary ovarian follicles. तो ओवरी के अंदर मैंने कहा था कि डक्ट्स नहीं होते हैं, they are having clusters of cells, those are called as follicular cells. Now what happens later is important. Afterwards, when the granulosa is formed, the process of oogenesis, that is meiosis, will start in the 9th week of embryonic development and will continue. Okay, by the 12th week of ovary is completely developed. So ये process जो है वो चलते ही रहेगा continuously till the menopause. oogenesis का process जो है वो continuous चलते रहेगा. Okay, so that is one idea behind it. Then the ovary will be having 2 million primordial ova formed in this particular way. तो endometrium क्या करेगा? गोनाडल डिस्क बनाएगा या गोनाडल रिज बनाएगा, इसमें से माइटोसिस होके oogonia बनेंगे. oogonia will be covered by membrana granulosa. They will be forming primordial follicles. primordial follicles का मतलब होता है primary follicles, मतलब immature follicles. Okay, how many immature follicles will be there? Around 2 million immature follicles will be there present in the body of female. Then germinal epithelium of cortex of ovary will be giving the groups of oogonia. Germinal epithelium, मैंने कहा था कि germinal epithelium is important. Germinal epithelium is capable of undergoing meiosis. तो ये क्लस्टर बनाएगा, उस क्लस्टर oogonia के जो क्लस्टर है उसी को हम लोग कहेंगे primordial या primary follicles या primary ova. Now they project in the cortex in the form of cords that are called as egg tubes or pleasure. Egg tubes or pleasure. Pleasure scientist का नाम है, and that's why it is called as, ये F scientist, F थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे silent होगा, pleasure कह सकते हो या pleasure कह सकते हो. Now each cord of this will end with a round mass of egg nest. this egg nest will develop into a primordial follicle. तो जर्मिनल एपिथेलियल कॉर्टेक्स का जो है उसमें क्या रहेगा? There will be groups of oogonia. They will project in cortex in the form of cores that are called as tubes of Fletcher. Then they will form a round mass, that is egg nest. Each egg nest will develop into primordial follicle. तो इतने सारे primordial follicles तैयार हो जाएंगे. Each follicle has a central primary oocyte which will be surrounded by oogonial cells or parietal single layer of follicular cells. Follicular cells are generally oogonial cells which are diploid. Even primary oocyte is diploid. Okay, so remember this very well. Till now everything is diploid. Primary oocyte will start undergoing meiosis, but it is arrested at meiosis 1 stage. ठीक है, प्राइमरी oocyte का meiosis शुरू हो जाएगा. meiosis होने के बाद meiosis 2 स्टेज में कंडक्ट किया जाता है ना, meiosis 1, meiosis 2. meiosis 1 होने के बाद इसका ग्रोथ रुक जाएगा. When meiosis 1 is completed, it will be called as secondary oocyte, and the secondary oocyte will be held there only. Okay, and later on the secondary oocyte will get matured and will be delivered out from the ovary. ठीक है, ये बाद में आएगा अपने को. So ये जो process है, this entire process is called as oogenesis. When there is a baby developing, female baby is developing in the mother's womb, right from that only the process of oogenesis will start. Around 2 million primordial follicles are there, of which half will get degenerated, and around 1 million will be left at the time of birth. उसमें से भी 60,000 या 60% will get degenerated, and only 40% will be left till the attending of maturity or puberty. मतलब बहुत सारे 2 मिलियन तैयार होने वाले हैं, 1 मिलियन रहेंगे, and 60% of will die, 40% will remain. This entire thing is to find out the best of the best follicles. Best of the best follicles means the one which are having the best, what we can say, बेस्ट क्या कहेंगे हम लोग? जीन्स उसके होने अंदर होने चाहिए. ये जो डिस्ट्रक्शन हुआ था फॉलिकल्स का, दिस डिस्ट्रक्शन विल बी कॉल्ड एज atresia. Remember this word atresia. Okay, so what is atresia? You must have got it. Fine. Okay, this destruction of follicles is called as atresia. We have said already earlier. Now what will happen at the puberty? The development of primordial follicles will restart. तो पहले क्या हुआ था? एंडोमेट्रियल लाइनिंग जो था योग साक के ऊपर, उसमें से गोनाडल रीच बना, उसमें से फॉलिकल्स बने. ओके, देन oogonia start developing. They will form duct on the covering duct के ऊपर एक होगा nest. It will be covered and will form primordial follicle. 2 million follicles, कम हो जाएगा नंबर उसका. Okay, by the time secondary development will start, means meiotic development will start. Meiosis 1 will be complete, meiosis 2 will be held up. Okay, during the journey around 50% follicles will be lost till the time of birth. After birth till the time of puberty, 60% of the remaining will be lost, 40% will remain. And now this primordial follicles जो available है, they will once again restart developing till the at the time of puberty. Females are having menstrual cycle, that is monthly cycle. In each monthly cycle or menstrual cycle, one Graafian follicle will be made to develop completely, alternately by each ovary. अभी ये alternately का मतलब क्या है? एक महीने में लेफ्ट ओवरी ने अगर समझो ग्राफियन फॉलिकल तैयार किया है, तो दूसरे महीने में राइट ओवरी ग्राफियन फॉलिकल तैयार करेगी. Why it is like this? Because maturation of one primordial follicle till complete ooted or complete oogonium will require 60 days. 60 days का साइकिल है मैचुरेशन ऑफ फॉलिकल. सो एक वक्त एक ही ओवरी मैच्योर कर सकती है फॉलिकल को, दूसरे वक्त दूसरा ओवरी, एंड दैट्स व्हाई इट इज अल्टरनेट. तो अभी यहाँ पे एक क्वेश्चन बनता है अपना एमसीक्यू के लिए. ईच ओवरी इन अ ईयर will give dash number of follicles. तो आपको 12 नहीं बोलना है, 6 बोलना है, because 6 will be given by one ovary, 6 will be given by other ovary, so 12 in a year, 12 महीने तो 12, so averagely 13 आते हैं कभी कभी. So puberty of female will be attained at the age of around 13 years, 12 to 13 years, let us say. It is onset of first menstrual cycle, and this onset of first menstrual cycle will be called as menarche. Menstrual cycle हम लोग अलग से बाद में करने वाले हैं, so don't worry about it. So कैसे पता चलता है कि फीमेल में मैच्योरिटी आ गया, कैसे पता चलेगा? There will be beginning of menstrual cycle, means suddenly there will be bleeding through uterus. This indicates, whenever the bleeding will start through uterus, will indicate the puberty has started. This first bleeding will be called as menarche because it is the first menstrual cycle. Whenever there is a bleeding, remember there is an end of menstrual cycle. Okay, so end of sexual phase in case of female will take place at the age of around 45 to 55 years of age, and then this stage will be called as menopause. After this, the female will be considered as sterile female. Sterile मतलब क्या होता है? Non capable of reproduction. So female के life में 3 stages है. Till puberty, means right from birth till puberty, that will be called as immature stage. From puberty or menarche till menopause, there will be second stage called as fertile stage, during which female can produce her own eggs and can give birth to her own babies. After that, after menopause, there will be a sterile stage, because now in the case of body of female, production of ova has stopped, and so she cannot produce her own ova, she cannot give birth to her own babies. This is a stage called as sterile phase or non-fertile phase. So during around 30-35 years of lifespan, with 32 years का lifespan कैसे पकड़ा हुआ है? 45 minus 13. 13th एज पे मैच्योरिटी आ जाती है, 45th एज ईयर्स के एज तक ये रहेगी. So on an average we can say there is a 32 to 35 years of span, sexual phase or fertile phase is there living in female body. Each year we can say around 13 ova are produced, because menstrual cycle is 28 days plan. So if you consider, there will be 13 ova produced within 1 year. Okay, so taking into consideration 32 years of fertile span and 13 ova produced per month, or per year rather, we can say, not month, year, it will be around 216. Okay, so roughly on an average a female will produce 420 ova in her lifespan. ठीक है, so 420 नंबर याद रखना, 420 नंबर भी अच्छा है याद रखने के लिए, है ना. So many ova being, MCQ में पूछेंगे, a normal female will produce dash number of ova in her life, fertile phase, so it is 420 you have to give. Okay, so remember this very well. So many ova will be produced. Now histology of ovary we have to understand. So far as histology is concerned, it is actually microscopic structure of ovary. With the onset of puberty, certain changes which are called as cyclic changes or monthly changes or cycling monthly changes will start occurring in the ovary. Abhi ovary ka main part kaun sa hai? Cortex is main part. So in the cortex, these all changes will be occurring. Remember, cortex had undergone many changes right from the development of embryo of female. है ना, जो सब चेंजेस हम लोगों ने पहले कहा था, एंडोमेट्रियल लाइनिंग, उसमें से रीच तैयार होना, बाद में उसमें से पुगुनिया तैयार होना, मेम्ब्रेना ग्रैन्युलोसा बनना, मेम्ब्रेना ग्रैन्युलोसा के बाद डक्ट बनना, डक्ट के बाद उसके ऊपर नेस्ट बनना, है ना, नेस्ट के बाद उसमें प्रिमोर्डियल फॉलिकल बनना. ऐसे 2 मिलियन फॉलिकल बने, उसमें से 1 मिलियन रिमेन एट द टाइम ऑफ बर्थ, उसमें से 50-60% आर लॉस्ट. अभी जो बचे हुए फॉलिकल्स है, दोज आर कॉल्ड एज प्रिमोर्डियल फॉलिकल्स, and each primordial follicle will be around 50 microns in diameter. Hope you understand, 1 micron is 1,000th part of millimeter. Okay, so 50,000 मतलब बहुत छोटा है ये. It is not possible to see with the help of naked eyes. This primordial follicle will start developing or will start undergoing growth under the influence of a hormone This hormone will be called as FSH, standing follicle stimulating hormone, given by pituitary gland. Don't worry, we are going to study the entire event once again while studying menstrual cycle. तो ये एक ट्रेलर है, menstrual cycle में हम लोग और डिटेल में इसका सब जिक्र करेंगे. Okay, so whenever FSH is given on large scale, follicle stimulating hormone, when it is given by pituitary gland of female on large scale, what will happen? The follicular cells will start developing. Primordial follicular cells will start developing. They will divide mitotically so as to form cells that are called as oogonia. Remember the 4 stages which we studied. First is multiplication. So this is a multiplication stage. Then out of many oogonial cells, one cell will be fastest growing and largest, generally placed at the center. Okay, and largest, it will grow to form one primary oocyte. This is a stage of growth. We studied earlier in oogenesis. Okay, अभी एक जो सेल है वो एक oogoneum क्या बन गया? Primary oocyte बन गया. Means it became large in size and kept at the center. So remaining cells will surround it. These are all oogonia, will surround it, and they will form follicular cells. The central cell, primary oocyte, later on will become secondary oocyte, and later on it will become ooted or matured ovum. Okay. Now the follicle cells will continue to grow and divide and develop a cavity. सेंटर में एक सेल था, उसके सराउंडिंग में सेल्स थे. ये सेल्स डिवाइड होते रहेंगे. As they divide and grow in number, they will start separating from the central cell. Primary oocyte से ये सभी separate होने शुरू हो जाएंगे. So a small cavity is produced between the primary oocyte and follicular layer of cells. This space produced over here is called as antrum or antral space. This antral space will be filled with a liquid that is called as liquor folliculi. देखो मैंने इसका जिक्र पहले किया था. जब हम लोगों ने liquor scrotuli कहा था तो liquor folliculi भी कहा था. Liquor folliculi is a viscous liquid that is filled in developing follicle of female. Okay. Now the membrana granulosa cells will increase in number to give additional protection. अभी ये जो follicle तैयार हो रहा है उसके अंदर जो follicular cells है, they will encircle the primary oocyte, and it is possible that it may rupture earlier, but it should not rupture before maturity. तो उसको protection देना जरूरी बनता है. So as to give the protection, membrana granulosa cells now will start dividing. They will form additional layer. Okay. Also, these membrana granulosa layers, they will start producing hormone that is called as estrogen. So estrogen is a female sex hormone that is given by developing follicle. This membrana granulosa will develop into a small connection. This small connection is called as discus proligerus. Okay, it is a point of contact between primary oocyte and follicle. तो बाकी सब जगह पे प्राइमरी oocyte जो है और follicular cells जो है वो अलग अलग हो जाएंगे, सेपरेट हो जाएंगे. But this is a point, remember discus proligerus is a point, MCQ का question, where primary oocyte is connected to the follicle yet, and between this there is a space available. That space is called as antrum or antral space. Now remember, there was a central cell, primary oocyte, surrounded by follicular cells or oogonia. These oogonia started separating. Whenever they separate, few oogonial cells remain attached to it, attached to the primary oocyte, and few oogonial cells will try to become follicle covering. Okay, whereas few cells will get radiated or will get arranged along the radius around the primary oocyte. Primary oocyte के ऊपर ये radiating form में arrange होके रह जाएंगे. This portion, this radiating chains or radiating cords of oogonia seen around the primary oocyte are called as corona radiata. Listen this word, corona radiata. So discus proligerus is a point of contact. Corona radiata is oogonial cells which were not able to become completely a part of follicular cell and remain as a radiating cells or radiating cords of cells around the primary oocyte are called as corona radiata cells. Now these corona radiata cells are important because they are giving protection as well as provide nourishment to the developing embryo during the first few 5 days. Okay. Now stroma deposits two layers around the developing follicle. Now what is this stroma? It's a covering of ovary. ओवरी के ऊपर एक थिन कवरिंग रहेगा. ये कवरिंग क्या करेगा? अभी देखो, अभी भी मेम्ब्रेना ग्रेनुलोसा डेवलप हो चुका है. इसके पहले फॉलिकुलर सेल्स डेवलप हुए, फॉलिकल बना, फॉलिकल के ऊपर मेम्ब्रेना ग्रेनुलोसा डेवलप हुआ सो एज टू गिव प्रोटेक्शन, एडिशनल प्रोटेक्शन. अभी भी ये फॉलिकल फूट सकता है, बट ये फूटना नहीं चाहिए क्योंकि सेकेंडरी स्पर्मेटो सेकेंडरी oocyte नहीं बना है अभी तक. Second maturation, first maturation division is not started yet, okay, or not completed yet, and that's why it requires additional protection. This additional protection is given by stroma layer of ovary forming two layers or through coverings over the follicle. जहां पे follicle develop हो रहा है वहीं पे ये बनेगा, पूरे ovary में नहीं बनेगा. So additional covering will be developed around the follicle where it is developing. These two layers given are called as theca externa and theca interna. Very simple. Theca is covering. आउटर वाले को कहेंगे एक्सटर्ना, अंदर वाले को कहेंगे इंटरना. These two layers of ovary will give protection to the developing follicle. Okay. Now the follicle will be called as secondary follicle. पहले क्या था? Primary follicle, which was very tiny. This tiny follicle will start growing in size. Okay. और grow होके ये बनेगा secondary follicle. Primary follicle or primordial follicle will become secondary follicle. This secondary follicle will be having a size of around 1 centimeter to 1.3 centimeter. Original size क्या था primordial follicle का? 50 microns, less than 1 millimeter, very tiny part. Now after complete growth, when it becomes secondary follicle, it becomes around 1 to 1.3 centimeters in radius, sorry, diameter. Okay, उसका diameter इतना बनेगा, मतलब ये बड़ा बनेगा, can be seen with the help of naked eyes. Okay, now starts first maturation division. So primary oocyte undergoes first maturation division, as a result of which it produces one secondary oocyte and one polar body. Okay, एक secondary oocyte बनेगा और एक polar body बनेगा. जब भी ये first maturation division complete हो जाएगा तो the follicle is called as matured follicle or Graafian follicle. So primary follicle becomes secondary follicle. Secondary follicle के अंदर जो primary oocyte था उसका फर्स्ट meiotic division complete हुआ, it becomes Graafian follicle or matured follicle. Now this will be having a size of around 10 to 30 millimeter, as I told you, millimeter मतलब 1 to 1.3 centimeter. It will move onto the surface of the ovary, and now it is a time for this Graafian follicle to rupture under the influence of another hormone given by pituitary gland called as LH. LH stands for luteinizing hormone. So under the influence of this luteinizing hormone, the follicle will rupture. Graafian follicle will rupture. Secondary oocyte will be released out. This process of releasing of secondary oocyte or ovum from ovary is called as ovulation. So ovulation is an event of rupturing of Graafian follicle or releasing of secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte को ही हम लोग general terms में ovum कहेंगे. Remember, scientifically it is not ovum yet. Okay, certain changes are necessary. Okay, so remember this very well. So इस event को हम लोग ने कहा ovulation. I told you menstrual cycle is a 28 days plan. So exactly at the mid of the menstrual cycle, that is on 14th day of menstrual cycle, this event of ovulation will occur. Event of ovulation will take place. Okay, follicle now will be called as corpus hemorrhagicum या corpus hemorrhagica. So पहले क्या था? Primordial follicle. It became secondary follicle. Secondary follicle का become Graafian follicle और ovarian follicle. Ovarian follicle जब rupture हो जाएगा, Graafian follicle जब rupture हो जाएगा, सीधी बात है ना, rupture होगा तो उसमें से थोड़ा सा blood निकलेगा. This is internal bleeding. Internal bleeding को hemorrhage कहते हैं. And that's why this internally bleeding body which is seen on ovary, surface of ovary, will be called as corpus hemorrhagicum या corpus hemorrhagica. Okay, यहाँ पे ज्यादा bleeding नहीं होता है. Don't confuse girls specifically. Menstrual bleeding and this bleeding is totally different. This is internal bleeding on the surface of ovary. जैसे अपने को समझो पिन प्रिक हो गया तो कितना ब्लड आएगा? जस्ट एक छोटा सा बूंद, उतना ही ब्लड आएगा. It will remain for a while, and then immediately this Graafian follicle will get transformed into corpus luteum. Okay, so the follicular cells now reunite. यहाँ पे देखो ये follicle का structure है पूरा, theca externa है, theca interna है. Then these are the basement membrane present over here. Then we can say granulosa cells. This is follicular antrum. These cells, they are called as corona radiata. This is a primary oocyte which underwent development so as to form secondary oocyte. Now, this is discus proligerus, contact point. Okay, और क्यूमुलस ऊफोरस दूसरा नाम है उसका, क्यूमुलस ऊफोरस भी कहेंगे या डिस्कस प्रोलिगेरस भी कहेंगे. ओके, ये जो ग्राफियन फॉलिकल है, ग्राफियन फॉलिकल रप्चर हो जाएगा, उसमें से ये ओवम जो है सेकेंडरी oocyte, इट विल बी डिलीवर्ड आउट. एंड देन व्हाट विल हैपन, जब ये रप्चर हुआ है तब रप्चर्ड बॉडी को हम लोग, रप्चर्ड ग्राफियन फॉलिकल को हम लोग कहेंगे कॉर्पस हेमोरेजिकम. Very soon all these cells of follicle, they will reunite, and after reunion they will become a yellow colored secretory body. Now it will be called as corpus luteum. देखो यहाँ पे ये word है corpus luteum. Okay, luteum because it is yellow colored, lutea is yellow colored, that's what it will be called as corpus luteum. This corpus luteum will start now giving another female sex hormone that is called as progesterone. Remember membrana granulosa cells which were formed around the developing follicle as a part of protection, they started secreting estrogen. And now this is after ovulation, the follicle which is remained called as corpus luteum is giving another hormone, progesterone. Okay, so these two hormones are important. Corpus luteum will remain or will persist in the body of ovary or on the surface of ovary for 14 more days. These 14 days are very important. During these 14 days, it will start secreting progesterone hormone. This progesterone will be affecting on uterus and will keep the uterine wall thick. ये उसका function है, वो relation बाद में देखेंगे हम लोग. After 14 days, this follicle will die. Okay, so corpus luteum will die. It will get transformed into a white colored body or white colored scar. It will start regressing also. Atrasia, इसका death हो जाएगा तो ये atrasia मतलब मर जाएगा, atrasia हो जाएगा, and will remain on the surface of ovary as a small white colored dot. This small colored white dot will be called as corpus albicans and this will become non-functional. तो एक एक करके ऐसे सभी follicles जब corpus albicans में convert हो जाएंगे, so there will not be any active follicles remaining in ovary, and because of this the capacity of ovary to produce ova will be lost and then there will be a menopause. Okay, so here we are trying to show some events like what is happening over here is nothing but you could see primary follicles over here. Fine, then this is oocyte formed, then see here the antrum is developing. Okay, antrum is being developing over here as a result of it. So then this is a completely developed follicle, we can say. So there is antrum you can see, oocyte you can see, and even zona pellucida वगैरह layers है उसके ऊपर देख सकते हो. Then these are the layers, theca externa, theca interna, produced by ovary. So this will be called as vesicular or Graafian follicle. Okay, matured follicle. Then there is an event of losing secondary oocyte, and so this body which is bleeding, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा blood निकलेगा, will be called as corpus hemorrhagicum. Very soon it will reunite so as to form a yellow colored body. This is actually completely formed yellow colored body called as corpus luteum. तो ये जो टूटा था वो वापस जुड़ रहा है, देखो यहाँ पे देख सकते हो आपके वो वापस जुड़ रहा है. Cells are being dividing and will be forming yellow colored body. This yellow colored body is called corpus luteum, will be secreting progesterone hormone. After a few days, that is 14 days, this will regress or die so as to form such kind of white colored dot called as corpus albicans. Okay, so this is how actually we can say the histological structure of ovary. Histology of ovary का diagram आपको 3 मार्क के लिए आ सकता है, पूरा description 4 मार्क के लिए आ सकता है क्वेश्चन. आज तक नहीं पूछा है, but it may be overdue, I think so, but keep it prepared. Okay, now we have to understand the remaining organs of female genital tract, that is oviduct. We'll have to start with. What are these oviduct? Actually, oviducts are nothing but also called as fallopian tubes or uterine tubule. This uterine tubule are nothing but muscular tubules that are arising from the side walls or side portions or side extensions of uterus. यूटरस के 3 रीजन्स होते हैं, उसके से सबसे ऊपर वाला जो रीजन है उसको फंडस कहा जाता है, यहाँ से ये निकलते हैं. सो दे आर अराइजिंग फ्रॉम फंडस ऑफ यूटेरस. Each of this oviduct will be around 10 to 12 centimeters in length and around 1 centimeter in thickness. Internally, it has got lining of ciliated epithelial cells and even secretory epithelial cells are present. One end of each oviduct will be attached to uterus at fundus, whereas another end will be free. Okay, this free end will be having a funnel-like structure. This funnel-like structure will be called as infundibulum. This infundibulum has an opening at the center. तो ये funnel-like structure हुआ, center में opening होगा. Opening is called as ostium. Infundibulum will give finger-like projections. These finger-like projections are called as fimbriae or fimbriae. जैसे ही आपको प्रोनाउंस करना है प्रोनाउंस करो. देखो यहाँ पे ये वर्ड है, fimbriae are given finger-like projections. This fimbriae keep on moving. Fimbriae and infundibulum plus internal lumen of oviduct all are covered with ciliated epithelial cells. These ciliated epithelial cells and fimbriae keep a rhythmic movement so as to collect the ovum as soon as it is being tossed by ovary. Okay, so normally during normal event, the fimbriae will remain, or we can say the infundibulum will remain away from the ovary. But at the time of ovulation, means on the 14th day of menstrual cycle, it will bend. The oviduct will bend so that the infundibula will be brought close to the ovaries, so that whenever the ovum is being released by ovary, any one of the ovaries, it will be picked up or it will be collected. Okay. So as a result of which, it will be picked up and made to pass through oviduct and will be brought into uterus ultimately. There is a middle portion, curved portion of oviduct. It will be called as ampulla or also called as fertilization field. Ampulla because it is a sac-like structure. Why it is called as fertilization field? Because fertilization takes place in this region. Male and female gametes will unite in this particular portion of the oviduct, and that's what will be called as, क्या कहेंगे उसको, fertilization field. There is a narrow end or narrow part of oviduct called as isthmus. Okay, or also called as cornea. So this is a small portion that will connect oviduct to the uterus at the region of fundus. So that is all we can say about the characteristic features of oviduct or fallopian tube. Okay, now uterus is important, which is commonly called as womb. Okay, I think so. We'll start with this study of uterus next time. You have got exam, right? So we'll stop here for this lecture. Next time we'll start with uterus. Okay, oviduct तक हम लोगों ने खत्म कर लिया है. Fine.